What's up, W Sports Podcast listeners? Jimothy and Tubby, we are back at it again because, we just finished week number 11 in the college football season. We have a new ranking with the college football playoff and A people, all the things. We had upsets, we had blowouts, we had heartbreak. Or what's the opposite of heartbreak? Just heart elation? I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that for some teams as they won the last second. But wow, what a weekend for college football, Tubby. Welcome back to welcome back to the show, man.
Yeah, I mean, overall there was some good football.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did as OU fans suffer some heartbreak, but yeah.
How do you get a quarterback who goes, 13 for 22 for 69 yards?
Yeah, and the punter had more passing
43.
yards in the first half than your starting quarterback did.
Yeah, it was bad. I was still upset about his last scramble at the last second. Like, you got to go down. And then they had one
Yeah.
more timeout. They just wasted it. Didn't even get to
Yeah.
use it. Couldn't take it with them. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just frustrating. I mean, there was no hope. They weren't going to make a Hail Mary, please. I mean, he was
I
going to get
mean,
sacked on the last play if that was the case.
I'd much rather give my shot at a Hail Mary than pitching it 15 times and hoping something magical happens.
Yeah. Yeah, there were quite. I mean, I think any game that you ask yourself, why did the refs miss this call, or is just dumb. But there were some bad calls.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it was kind of the theme this week. So I don't know how much time you need to spend on
Yeah.
a probably not going to be a bowl team in Oklahoma, but just frustration.
Yeah.
If you have any wonders about it, go back and look at Tubby's rant from a couple weeks ago. It's still fresh. It's still good. And it's pretty accurate overall.
Yeah, no,
So,
it still lays true, even though they fired Seth Luttrell.
yeah, it was still bad. Again, my next chess piece move for that team is fire Bill Bedenbaugh. You
Yeah,
just gotta get rid of
yeah.
it. I don't know how your players can't get better. I get it, you're playing the SEC, but how can they not get any better as the year goes on?
My big thing is the fact that you keep guys in that are just plain awful. So why not give some of these younger guys a shot? Like,
Hmm.
Autry Denty a shot at right tackle when Spencer Brown was just getting absolutely destroyed all game, and
It's so
Missouri has not had a good defensive line or a good defense at all this year, and he was whipping him every single play, and I'm like, something's got to change, right? I mean,
bad. You'd like to
at
think
this,
so, but dude,
yeah. Well, real quick, where's your faith right now in Brent Venables?
I
Because
think if
there's a
last week
lot
it
of people.
was like an 8 out of 10, right now it's probably 7 out of 10. Like I still think that he had his hands so far off of what the offense was doing that it just didn't make sense. And I think right now it's a pile of garbage. And what can you do with a pile of garbage except throw it away? So
Yeah,
throw away what you have.
yeah. I'm probably about a 6 right now after yesterday's game, but I still have hope, and I think he needs at least one more year to hopefully right the ship, get a new offense coordinator in there, probably a new offensive line coach,
Yep.
more than likely pretty much every single position except for maybe running back and wide receivers coach. We'll see. I don't know. Wide receivers coach, I'm starting to question that now, even though he's a good recruiter. Why have the wide receivers
Yeah,
not improved?
they've gotten worse. Again, it's the
Yeah.
same thing I see on the offensive side. They don't have anyone who cares about the detail. And this is not just an Oklahoma thing. There's a
Hmm.
lot of
Yeah.
teams that are struggling with this, and it just doesn't make sense. You are paid to coach the game. It's sometimes it feels like they're just playing video game like
Yeah.
type coaching. They're just calling plays, hoping it works out, not teaching guys technique of when it is. I saw some plays, and this was like across the board where corners were literally like planted until the guy got to them. This was all weekend long with football, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what coach isn't looking at that, circling and saying, you literally have already lost because you didn't. Either you wasted the cushion or you're
Hmm.
waiting to break until he moves right by you. I mean, it was the
Yeah.
stupidest thing. You don't have that much speed, and if you do, it's not going to work at the top level because
Well, I
everyone's going
mean,
to have that much
on the
speed.
game timing drive, we saw it right there with Woody Washington standing 10 yards back, and he doesn't move until Pine throws the football.
It's too late.
Yeah, he's already 10 yards past you, and the ball's already in the air. You
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah, it was terrible. Just coaching is just not good, and that I think. So
Yeah.
why Nick Saban was so good, why Kirby Smart in the past has been good, but I think
Mhm.
Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are like the obviously the best of the best because they focus on the details so much that it's almost an obsession,
Yeah.
and it becomes this thing where if you obsess over the details when it doesn't matter, when it does matter, you got them taken care of. And it feels like so many teams. OU is a massive example of why it doesn't matter. But we can talk about a couple other teams, and we'll get to it here soon with some upsets. But let's talk about the teams real quick that took care of business. We got Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, even Tennessee. All took care of business. You could say top 10 wise. Notre Dame took care of business, and even 11, Alabama took care of business. But any of these teams, I mean, as we're going into the final 3-ish weeks of the season, it's crunch time now before the championship Sunday weekend, or championship weekend, not Sunday, but that you're seeing. No, go ahead. We can go ahead and put them in the playoff.
Yeah, pretty much all those teams you just mentioned. I mean, Indiana, you got to throw Indiana in there too. Number 9. Yeah, they beat Michigan. Michigan's not great this year, but they're still 10-0 heading into this week playing against Ohio State, and probably the biggest matchup they've had in I can't tell you how long.
Yeah, I couldn't
So
either.
I think those teams right now are pretty set. I will tell you one team that I am buying more into, and it's because they have turned things around defensive wise compared to early on in the season, and that's Notre Dame. We're starting to see the defense that I think a lot of people expected at the beginning of the season really starting to look good. And yes, they haven't played super tough
Florida
competition.
State was a tough one.
They said they haven't played super tough competitions, but that's a sign of a good team is whenever they're able to dominate when they're supposed to dominate, and not fold when we got this, we can just kind of sit back and play easy. They went out there and they handled the things that they need to handle lately, and I think they're looking more impressive. And Riley Leonard looks like he's starting to step things up too. So maybe they are a sneaky team. I don't know. We'll see. But
it looks like they'll host a game in that first round, but they do have Virginia, Army, and at USC to wrap up the season. So they do have the path there. No conference championship game, of course, for them. So I like what you said. All these teams look like they are at least penciling their name in there. The ones that are on the question mark right now, Georgia and Miami, both get upset. Georgia Tech beats Miami in that game. I mean, we've seen the writing on the wall. This is kind of like OU in the previous years. They're just one of those Big 12 teams that they keep winning, but they barely win, or they dig themselves out of the hole that they shouldn't have been in anyway. And Georgia Tech absolutely just dominated the possession of the ball. They were a grinded out football game, and that's exactly what they want to do. They win this game 28-23.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Miami is lucky they don't have like 4 losses right now. So we expected them to trip up somewheres, and I thought that this could potentially be that game, but I wasn't 100% sure. And they got tripped up here, and now it kind of really blows the ACC kind of wide open. Brings Clemson back into it. SMU is now leading the way in the ACC.
Welcome to the conference at SMU.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is your feeling? A bigger loss, like to the overarching of the season itself, Georgia or Miami?
I'm going to say Georgia, because the fact is that they had an easier schedule for the most part. And, one of the easier schedules in the SEC. Granted, people are going to be like, oh, no, it was they had one of the easier schedules in the SEC compared to a lot of these top teams. And the biggest factor is Carson Beck right now. Since the Alabama game, he has 10 touchdowns and 14 turnovers.
It's terrible.
You ain't going to win big games when you're turning the ball over that way and you're not, executing offensive wise, and you don't have a strong run game to offset it, which you've had in the past. I mean, even whenever, a couple of years ago when the first national championship they won, they would turn the ball over, here and there in big games, but they had such a strong run game that was able to offset some of those, bad turnovers by Stetson Bennett, in inopportune times. Right now, they don't have that. The offensive line, which was supposed to be one of their strengths, has been a big weakness for them. Yeah, they are dealing with a couple of injuries from, with Tate Ratledge, who was projected to be a first-round pick this year. But I don't know. I'm not sold on this team right now. Defensive-wise, they're not playing super great either. And so I think that it's more worrisome for them because they are in the SEC. And right now, they don't control their path now to the SEC championship game.
Yeah, they get Tennessee at UMass, which is a very winnable game, and then Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech, it's a rival game. It's even on a Friday after Thanksgiving, so it's a weird one. It is at home, which will help.
Yeah.
Right now, tickets are as low as $4,352. That's what I'm seeing on ESPN. Absolutely wild. I don't understand why, but there you
Uh,
go. So they do have a winnable, at least win, and I
mhm.
think because there are 12 teams, they still have the chance to make it
Yeah.
in. I just think they cannot slip up against it. This is a must-win game
Yeah.
against Tennessee.
Yeah. If they lose Tennessee, there goes their playoff hopes more than likely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think 3 losses is pushing it, but I could see them, I could see the committee going, oh, well, you lost to Ole Miss and you lost, some good teams, so we're going to let you slide. But
Yeah.
I think 3 losses, that's about as the max you can have. And right now, I think 3 losses pushes you just on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of this game next week, they said he was held out due just of the abundance of precaution for Nico and Maliava.
Mm-hmm.
But should Tennessee fans be worried at all because he
Uh,
didn't play in the second half and he looked
yeah,
good?
yeah, I think so because I mean, what is it, a chest injury or something like that? I think is what they were
Yeah.
saying. So, I mean, that will go. If it is any factor, it's going to play in a factor throwing the football.
Yeah.
And so I imagine if he plays, they're going to try to rely a lot on Dylan Sampson, like they
hmm
have,
Yeah.
of recent.
How much more
So
can you? Yeah.
yeah,
But that's probably the thing though that Tennessee
mhm,
has right now that even Georgia doesn't,
yeah,
or even Alabama. And this is a
hmm
run game, a running back who can not only carry the ball effectively, but an offensive line that appears to be coached well enough to
yep,
provide their guy with time or with the right hole.
yep.
Well, watch out. I guess we just discovered on the W Sports podcast. We already know Tennessee's going to win the whole thing. We just now found it out. Look at that.
I don't know about the whole thing, but they're playing good football right now. And I thought maybe the loss of your defensive leader at linebacker was going to play a big part in maybe a couple of trip ups, but they're playing really good football right now. So I think it gives them a realistic shot. To take out Georgia, especially if Carson Beck's playing the way he's playing.
Yeah. Real quick SEC note: Alabama LSU was a dud. I mean, this game was classic LSU Alabama right here.
Yeah.
So, just what are your thoughts?
I mean, this is kind of what I expected. I expected Alabama to really. I expected them to win for one thing. I don't know about
To
in such
blow out
dominant
the whole
fashion, but
time.
Grant Nussmeier has not played super great lately, and I think that was one thing I put into it when I thought about the game. But maybe that Missouri game for Alabama was the turning point in the season. I mean, we saw how much they dominated Missouri, and granted, we talked about it. The Drew Pine was playing quarterback, turned the ball over 3 times, but Alabama just kept on putting the foot on the pedal and running the football and starting to find some semblance of a run game. They still rely a lot on Jalen Milroe's legs, but it was
Yeah.
almost seemed like it was a get right game for them, and it pushed them forward into this LSU game.
I would do everything I could. 2 quarterback spies, something. Because here's the
Yeah.
thing: Alabama. I mean, first off, LSU cannot run the ball effectively. This is a apparent problem in the SEC. And Alabama ran the ball 48 times for 311 yards. You alluded to this earlier. Jalen Milroe, 12 rushes for 185 yards and 2 scores. I get it. He had the 72-yard run earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So even without that, it's still 11
So,
carries for over 100 yards and 3
mm-hmm.
touchdowns. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Just make him pass the ball. I don't understand. And I get it. LSU's defense isn't awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm sitting here in my place right now telling you this. We all know this. But it
Mm-hmm.
looked better. And I don't understand how you don't scheme to make Jalen Milroe, who's a little bit limited, only had 109 yards passing because he didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just terrible. What are we
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Definitely, it was a mishap on the defense coordinator side, not putting a spy on him, especially
Bro,
like you. Yeah.
it should be the whole game. You have one or two guys rotate, keep him fresh, go after him,
Mm-hmm.
go get him.
Yep.
You had Boise State won by 1 touchdown. I mean, it was really by 2 touchdowns. Nevada got the late score on the 4th and
Mm-hmm.
10 or something like that, and then they didn't get the onside kick, but still, they won
Yeah.
the game barely. Another Jeantys just went off.
Yeah.
I mean, he ran over him. That one or BYU? Is there one that you're more, I don't know about right now, chances to make the playoff?
I mean, I would think that the Nevada Boise State game was a little more, nerve wracking just because Utah BYU is a massive rivalry, so it's one of those games where no matter how bad one of those teams are, it's going to be a close game more than likely. So I would think that Boise State probably should have just ran over Nevada. What are they going into the game? They were 3-6, I think, on
Yeah,
the
Nevada was
season.
not good. They're like my
Yeah,
dynasty team with Nevada. So.
yeah. So they should have probably handled that game a lot easier than they did. So I'll probably say that one a little more worrisome, but in the end, you got the win, and that's all that matters.
It's very true. And I would say this. This is the remaining schedule for Boise State. Maybe this will help influence your decision. San Jose State, Wyoming on the road. Both of those are on the road. And then they play Oregon State on a Friday. You tell me which of those should they not be favored in? Because they should.
Yeah.
2 scores, every single team. And then you look
Mhm.
at BYU, which is in the Big 12.
Mhm.
KU, who just upset Iowa State. They play them this next week. Then they get at Arizona State and then at Houston, who has at the very least been more competitive than they were at the beginning of the year and already has
Yeah.
one upset on their resume too. So
Mhm.
with that in mind, I feel more worrisome about BYU only
Mhm.
because of their schedule. And the Big 12 is weird.
Yeah, it is a weird season for the Big 12 right now. This was the Kansas team that I expected all
Dude,
season. Like,
that's
where
what I
was
almost
this
texted
from
you
week
that.
one?
Yeah.
From the get go, because if you play like this all season, you're talking about being in the conversation for playing in the Big 12 championship game. I don't know what happened if finally the new offense clicked or something. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's got to be a letdown for Iowa State. 2 weeks in a
Yeah.
row, you were undefeated. Now you lost 2 in a row. Now you're kind of sitting back, hoping maybe you still have a chance at playing in that Big 12 championship game.
Colorado Buffaloes, bro. Let's go. I'm feeling good about it. They dominated that game after the first quarter, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, they played really good in the second half too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, any other news and notes you have before we wrap this show up for the day?
Got one trivia question real quick.
Oh,
Who
yes.
who has the longest active winning streak in college football right now?
Longest active winning streak in college football team?
Yep, college football team. Who has the longest active winning streak
I
in
want to.
FBS?
Did Oregon win their bowl game last year?
I don't know.
I'm gonna say BYU.
No, it
Dang
would
it.
be Army. 12 in a row.
Dang. Oh, I thought. Okay. No, because I forgot. BYU played Oklahoma State
Oklahoma State.
after they almost beat OU. I thought they won that game. That's what got me. Dang it.
Nope.
Okay.
They missed the last second field goal to win that
Yeah,
game.
that's what it was. Okay. I thought maybe they had gotten 12, and that's crazy. 12 is the longest right now. Way to go, Army,
Yeah.
who dominated the time of possession. Did you see this week?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't even know if North Texas even showed up for the game. I couldn't tell on the stat sheet. It's crazy.
Yeah. What was the final score? 14-3 or something like that?
Yeah.
It was a typical Army game where they got their quarterback back this week and they just handled the ball the whole time.
Yeah. Well, hats off. It is Veterans Day as we release this episode, so why not wrap it up with Army? So incredible season they've had at 9-0, and you know what? They're on the road to continue this on. So hopefully they win out. I'd love to see this team force themselves into a playoff. I think the only way to do that though is for Boise State to lose. But let's just see what happens. It'd be incredible. Yeah. A triple option team. Oh, come on, let's go. But guys, thank you all so much for joining the show today and subscribing to the show. If you have not already, come on, what are you doing? You just got. I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to encourage you. Please subscribe to the show. It's the easiest way to support us. We're on the journey to 300, and if you do that on YouTube, you're going to actually be qualified to get into our giveaway for November, which will be released what it is this week. So again, you want to make sure you're subscribed. But till then, see y'all next time.
See ya.
See you.